Through the personal stories of 4 veterans, the new film Here.Is.Better seeks to show audiences what a PTSD diagnosis means, what it can look like, and how it can impact an individual's daily life. Let's take a look.
What is PTSD?
Post-traumatic stress disorder. We get a lot of questions across the country. A lot of it is about the misconceptions.
There is a change in the brain that occurs when someone goes through a trauma, like combat, like an assault.
You think of PTSD, you think of that guy that snaps and shoots his wife in the face. And that is not how it presents most of the time.
And we are joined now in studio by filmmaker Jack Youngelson and also by former Army Captain Jason Kander, who is featured in Here.Is.Better. Thanks so much to both of you for joining us. Let's start with you here. I'm just curious if you can explain for our viewers exactly what PTSD is and what some of the most common misconceptions is about it.
Sure. PTSD is experience of living through a trauma, experiencing a trauma, and then a change in the brain occurs, and an inability to recover from that experience is what PTSD is and looks like. It looks like many different things. It could look like anxiety or depression, but it's really a diagnosis that requires specific trauma therapies to address.
And why was it important for you to document this in a film, certain people going through PTSD and the therapies and the trauma of it?
I think it was important to deliver a hopeful but not sugar-coated message about what recovery looks like and various paths to treatment, and at least to open the door to the possibility that people would seek treatment. That was the most important part for all of us.
And Jason, I want to bring you in here. You're an Afghanistan war veteran. You've held political office in Missouri. Why did you want to talk about your own mental health story in this way?
Sure. Well, you know, I've spoken a lot about my mental health over the last few years, and every time I do, it seems to resonate with people, and it gives me an opportunity to help people realize that it's okay to go help yourself. You know, Jack and Chloe and the other filmmakers came to me at a time when, frankly, a lot of people were coming to me, asking me to speak publicly, and at that time I wasn't ready yet. But I said yes to them because I could tell that what they wanted to do was to tell a story that was so different than the way PTSD is usually depicted, both on screen and, frankly, in the news. And the way I would say it's usually depicted is a sense of voyeurism. It's what I refer to as PTSD porn, which is to say it's just looking at a person who is untreated, often undiagnosed, is in the throes of PTSD. And it was only for me when I was a few months into therapy and really starting to do a lot better that my therapist had to explain to me that it is normal to get better, that most people who commit to the program actually achieve post-traumatic growth, meaning they get to a point where PTSD no longer is disruptive to their life. I literally didn't know that that was a thing that actually happened most of the time. And so when I had filmmakers approach me who were interested in telling a story about the fact that that's what usually happens, and I knew that might encourage more people to actually get treatment.
You also run an organization called Afghan Rescue Project and led an effort to evacuate a group of Afghans that you knew from your own service. Talk about that effort.
Sure. I got involved with that, like a lot of Afghanistan veterans, in August of 2021. We were not able to get our people out. Myself and a few friends were not able to get our people out through the airport like a lot of others, but we stuck with it, and we raised a bunch of money and kind of moved heaven and earth and ended up getting our initial group out through a different airport. But the way that that's actually relevant to this is that it ended up being an entirely separate trauma for me to go through the experience of, you know, trying to save people from the Taliban and not being able to save everyone. I actually went back to the VA for a second round of trauma therapy that had nothing to do with my original deployment, that had to do with this experience. And that's, I think, one of the most important messages of the film, which is that PTSD is not a terminal diagnosis and that there are treatments for it. And those treatments, when you commit to them, they often work, and it is worthwhile to pursue that kind of help.
What's clear is that this documentary does bring hope for survivors. Let's take a look at another clip.
There is no magic pill for PTSD.
If we can get that right fit of therapy to individual, we can actually make dramatic improvements.
We're gonna fall. Question is, are you gonna fall down? Or are you gonna fall up?
If we work for it, we can be in total remission from our PTSD.
You know, you make 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Jack, I want to bring you back in here again. What message do you hope that these survivor stories will bring to those at home, whether they have PTSD or not?
I think it's a universal story. I know that we focus on veterans, and clearly they're the target audience in many ways, but I think everyone can be touched by this film. We know that universally, tremendous trauma through COVID and other personal experiences one might have. So I think that there's real broader societal takeaways. And I really hope that the film begins to really destigmatize how we talk about mental health. That's critically important.
What's one thing that you think will surprise people about PTSD?
I think one thing that surprised me through Jason's story and so many stories is how many years it might take for someone to go seek treatment. On average, it could take 12 years, according to the VA. And that was something I didn't realize. And I think part of this is really just kind of opening the door to seeking treatment, perhaps when you're ready, but not necessarily waiting as long as that.
Jack, Jason, we thank you both so much for joining us. You can find out more, Here.Is.Better.org, and the film is available for streaming on all major platforms starting today.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.